Rock and roll.
Rock and roll is right.
We're going to have fun tonight. A short show prior to the RPM meet, right? Mikey,
Hello.
what'd you bring? You brought some cars tonight.
Yeah, seems that's what people like.
Seems they do.
It's a little pickup truck.
Yeah.
And I can hear that computer running in the background. Where's my microphone? On the floor. Rock and roll. Best hobby in the world. Tonight we have Mike Budde running camera for us. It's awesome to have you, Mike. Mike is adjusting his camera. He's going to do something special to open this show, isn't he? This is show number 201, folks, for July 16th. And this is going to be fun tonight. Here comes the RPM meet. All right, Mike, give me a countdown at 3.
3, 2.
The What's Neat This Week video podcast is supported by enthusiastic model railroaders just like you.
These are anyway.
And by GL Robotics. With over 61 colors of 3D printing filaments in stock, your gateway to new technology. Check out their website at glroboticsusa.com. Promotional consideration provided by Great Train Shows, a division of Great American Train Shows. Train shows are back. Visit their website for show dates and vendor registration at trainshows.com. Further support is provided by Microengineering, keeping you on track with quality products for 55 years. Check out their website at www.microengineering.com. Order from your local dealer or order direct by calling 1-800-462-6975. Additional support is provided by Yelsma Graphics, America's leading distributor of quality railroad art and embroidered clothing since 1985. Check out their website at yelsma.com. Further support is provided by the NCE Corporation, the power of DCC. Visit their website at ncedcc.com. And thank you for supporting the What's Neat This Week podcast. This is the What's Neat This Week show in model railroading, show number 201 for July 16th, 2022. I'm your host, Ken Patterson, the host of that What's Neat show over at Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine. That's the how-to show where we get our hands dirty. We do how-tos and some very amazing different interviews throughout the industry, including covering NMRA shows and this upcoming RPM meet. So look forward to that for September and October shows. I've got with me tonight on the set, starting over here, I've got my favorite, Mike Budde. Hey, Mike.
Hey, everybody.
It's good to have you on with us tonight, and you've got some cool vehicles to talk about as usual. On the other side of me, I've got Stephen Mantia. Hey, Steve.
Hello, how are you?
It's awesome to have you tonight.
I'm glad to be here.
And you're going to get to talk about your train show, and you brought some beautiful passenger cars tonight.
Something jumped out as passenger car. I just thought I would grab a box and bring some.
That's absolutely awesome. Tonight I want to talk about first the August What's Neat video just got completed this week. Yes, I am on time, Joe Fugate. Today was my deadline, the 15th, and I made that deadline. Actually, that was yesterday. Jeff Schultz is happy. In that video, we have got an amazing segment from our favorite Jennifer Kirk, all the way from the UK. We love you, Jenny. Whereas she interviews and shares with us a garden railroad in the UK. But now you're thinking G-scale, right? No. This is a railroad that was built simply to be HO scale. Trevor Jones built an HO scale outdoor railroad so he could run full-length trains on his layout. And boy, did he knock it out of the park.
Wow.
Figuring out the different types of bonsai plants to use, scaling things down to
Really?
HO scale. I can't imagine what crabgrass would even look like in HO scale. But I mean,
Not good.
they don't have raccoons, they don't have deer, they don't have all the other things that we have to deal with here in the United States. And he points that out on the video, that the fact is his environment is so controlled that it allows the dexterity of the smaller trains to be able to run. And Jennifer shows us a lot of tips and tricks notes on how he designed his roadbed to be weatherproof and rainproof. So it's actually, quite honestly, eye-opening, that segment of the video. So I was very impressed with that. And when I first got the content of the video, I thought it was G-scale as well. But then I started recognizing the American Limited Models tank cars running, and I knew they didn't make them in G-scale. So hats off to you, Jenny Kirk, man. You pulled off a really good one for that video. Also in that video, we've got Dan Scheidel, our drone pilot. And what he filmed for the August video was absolutely amazing. It's a Union Pacific main lines running through California after the wildfires. So we get to witness the trestles that were rebuilt in a month to keep the layout open, to keep the railroad open, I mean. And how interesting it would be to model this type of burnt scenery where the pine trees aren't green, they're not scenic with foliage, everything's spray painted black. It's absolutely kind of amazing. And as a further treat on that video, he throws in some nighttime drone footage. And the reason that I ran that is because so many people like Vic Smith's layout that we have running in July, they like to use blue lights on their layout. That beautiful layout out there in Colorado, that BNSF railroad. Again, blue lights to represent nighttime. And that's exactly the effect that the drone was able to pick up flying over the trains at dusk as the sun went down and it was dark. It was that blue hue on the scenery, which you could only see if you were up in the air looking at it. And it was absolutely amazing to see that. So it's a great way to understand color combinations. Also in the August video, I'd love to say, and we've got Larry Harrington from Bachman Industries. And yes, he shared with us some new products. But what was more interesting in that interview was he and I discussed the youth in the hobby, the 15-year-old, the 14-year-old, the young man that or girl that is ready to go to college and might want to have a career in our industry. And we talked about all of the available types of jobs that are in our industry, from computer CAD design to sales to products to representation to working trade shows, working for the various different companies. And the one conclusion that we came to is once you get in this industry, you might work for one company or another, but you never leave. As you learn everybody at the trade shows, sometimes you just go from one company to another, but you always do stay in this industry for a lifelong career. And that's the beauty of this hobby. Bachman recently hired a young man that they've got working for them now, and he said to Larry, I can't believe I have my dream job working in the hobby that I love. And that's the opportunities that's out there for you if you feel like you want to chase your passion and not only just follow it up for modeling as a youth, but then again have a career in our hobby. And I thought that was a very interesting interview to have with him, and I'm really happy with the way that turned out. Now, the July What's Neat video will be coming out probably at the exact same time that you are watching this show as I get the edit complete. And in that video, we've got Vic Smith's beautiful layout. Thank you very much, Holly, for, talking to Vic that night and us getting this beautiful interview just simply to share this beautiful cityscape, the city edge. That's what Vic models, that's what he calls his layout. It's crime, it's grime, it's the dark-seated parts of the city, and he models it so well, from the drug deals to the police cars to the nightclubs and all of that inner dark part of the city. It's just, it's an absolute art, the graffiti, all the different things that Vic has been able to do. It's an amazing segment for that video. Also in that video, Jason Thomas came over to the studio and he shares with us how he created scenery using this carpet material that's got fake fur beat all day long. He picked it up at Hobby Lobby and I believe on Amazon. He tells us where we can find it at, and it's a great technique for making very quick scenery on your layout. Again, in that video, Larry Harrington shares with us the new products from Bachman Industries out in beautiful Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And as I recall, that was a Hudson steam locomotive that they were sharing for that video. Absolutely amazing. Look forward to seeing all those guys at the Anna Murray National coming up in about 3 weeks here in St. Louis. They are all looking forward to seeing you, and tell them that you saw them on What's Neat. And so, Mikey, tell me, brother, what did you bring tonight?
Classic Metalworks pickup trucks. About 6 months ago, I guess, they released the first run of these 70s square body Chevy trucks with the fleet side short bed wheelbase. And then just recently they released 3 trucks, 3 colors of a short bed step side truck. And I took the two in the middle and I detailed them a little bit with wheels and tires of my own, and I chromed the bumpers with the Molotov marker. And then on this one I used mirrors from the Trident, one of the Trident trucks I had, because they were a lot more scale appearing than the ones that come on the classic Metalworks. But all in all, these are really nice trucks, and there's a lot of ways you can bring variety to them too, with different suspensions and colors and everything else. And I'm hoping that Classic Metalworks will release a long bed version. I'm thinking maybe they'll do different grills, maybe even do some GMC versions, because there's a lot of different kinds they could do with the molds that they have. So hats off to them for making these nice trucks available. That fills another hole in our easily available plastic, injection plastic or models, as opposed to 3D printing. This is something you can buy right off the shelf that looks good. So anyway,
It saves a lot of time and work, doesn't it, when you can just buy it like that?
definitely,
So-
start to detail that.
Mikey, what are you going to bring to the RPM meet this year? What kind of tricks and trinkets is
no,
everybody going to get to see? Have you thought that through yet?
I think I'll take a bunch of my auto racks. That's kind of what I'm known for. I have one train that has about 30 of them loaded. I don't know if I'll bring the whole thing, but I'll bring as much as I feel like putting in the car, Then I'll probably bring a bunch of these vehicles that I've been working on lately too. So some Mopac maintenance away stuff and a couple telephone vehicles. So that's it.
I'll give you a handful of hats to hand out. We've got
All
a
right.
lot of different hats here from Yelsma Graphics on the table all the way across. He sent us about 150. We've got 4 cases of hats up in the breezeway upstairs, and there's some color combinations. They're absolutely beautiful. I'm going to tell you, one of my favorite ones,
Yeah, I
all-time
like that
favorite
one
so
too.
far, is this really dark hat with the suede bill on it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is just, what a beautiful representation branding our show. I'm going to talk about Denny a little bit later in the show, but I do want to talk about this. Now, we've got the RPM meet coming up here on the 29th and 30th in St. Louis at Gateway's Collinsville Convention Center over there. And of course, that Saturday night, we're going to record a show down here, as we always do, and use every single microphone that we've got. I think we had 14 guests on last year. I know we had about 60 or 70 people in the backyard and 35 cars parked out front, because Campbell Rice always flies the drone over and shares with us what it looks like from the air. But this year I anticipate more, simply because all bets are off. The gates are open, and we would invite anybody that wants to come and watch us record that show tonight. We'll have as many modelers and manufacturers on this show as we can to help, again, promote the best hobby in the world in a way that we can do it when we've got everybody in town here with us. And we plan to do the same type of event during the Anna Murray National the second week of August. And that's starting on the 12th, and it goes all the way through to the weekend. So that's Saturday night. First of all, Thursday night during that week, I've got Thursday day an open house here on the property. So I got to clean this place and get the Garden Railroad running, which I'm going to talk about that in a second. But then Saturday, Sunday, and Friday, myself and Joshua Sugarfire and Holly will be running camera and helping me shoot the interviews that we always like to do to cover the NMRA show. So that the September What's Neat will be the RPM show. The October's What's Neat will then give you a presentation of the NMRA 2022 National Train Show. So I look forward to that and everything that comes from that. Speaking of the Garden Railroad, I shot some video clips here yesterday. Holly and I were watching a deer in the backyard. Actually, there was 4. There's always a dozen at one time or another. But I'm already starting to replace the tracks and the rails that have been stepped on and bent. And here's another deer working her way up out of the bowl, eating that wonderful grass, and gently stepping over the tracks like a cat. I want to thank you so much for doing that. I'm going to throw out some apples for you. But I don't want to see 2 weeks prior to the show that I get everything completely repaired and up and
Yeah.
running, and then I've got to deal with a 200-pound foot stepping on the rail again. The cement usually alleviates that. When I used to have gravel ballast out there with no cement roadbed, it was much worse because it would sink into the rocks, and I would have a kink that I would have to throw away the 6-foot piece of rail. This way, the way it is now, they simply just either kick it or break off the ties. So it's not so bad. And that was the deer clip that I was going to show you tonight. A gentleman by the name of Andy Hauser had a Broadway Limited N&W 2664 locomotive. We all remember that locomotive. Walthers also came out with that a long time ago, and that was one of the first smoothest steam locomotives that we had running, and that was going about 1997 when those first came out. Mr. Hauser had a problem with gears cracking on this locomotive, and that is a fact that sometimes a lot of the manufacturers' plastics that's mixed, as time goes by, 15 or so years, the gears start to dry out, the plastic dries out, and it does crack. And then you've got to come up with a way to repower your locomotive with new gears. And it used to be that the go-to source was Northwest Shortline, and I need to check on the internet to see if they are still producing gears. I'm not sure. But Mr. Hauser contacted Greg over at G&L Robotics and gave him the dimensions of the gear and said, look, I want to pick up a 3D printer that I can print and design gears in CAD on in order to repower this locomotive. And you know what? That's just what he did. There is a whole segment on the Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine forum, and I'm going to show you some pictures of this because I'm going to screen capture them right off as I talk about this, where he shares with us how he pulled the wheels, the drivers disassembled the locomotives, and then put these new gears into this N&W locomotive that Greg Summerlin had printed for him on his 3D printer. And you know what, it works. And I think that's a real testament to the quality of this fineness that we can get from 3D printing. This is almost, normally what would we do? We might try to mill a gear. If you knew a machinist, good luck with that.
Right.
Or we might try to cast a gear off of the old cracked gear. You know, put it back together, make a rubber mold, make a casting, and hope that the resin would be sturdy enough to support the use. But with this 3D printer, this thing turned out really great. And as you see in this MRH form that I'm, again, screen capturing off, it worked. And so that's the beauty of 3D printing, and I wanted to share that with you. Check it out at glroboticsusa.com. Greg Summerlin's got a lot of resin and filament 3D printers. We've got the Viper printer down here that we've been using to print a couple of different things. Last night we tried to print a dragon with it. I didn't shoot B-roll, I knew I should have, but it came out really cool. A full G-scale dragon, if that's what you want to call it. And also at G&L Robotics, you'll find these beautiful lawnmowers that are controlled all by themselves. Wiring in the ground keeps them in the locations where they go. They self-dock, they undock, they mow the grass while you're at work, and then they dock themselves back up to charge. There's a lot of different price levels of these things, and I think the beauty of that, it would lend itself well to us garden railroad folks out there that, you know, you don't want to run a heavy garden tractor in the small areas of garden railroad, but if you got one of these G&L Robotics, these amazing machines that just sit there and mow the grass by themselves. And again, I make the joke that it's better than having 7 goats because you know the goats are going to step on the track, but the lawnmower's not. It's going to stay within the parameters and away from the rails. It's a perfect device for a museum or any other outfit out there that's got outdoor garden railroading that they like to expose. Actually, they've got some machines that are good for like 5 acres. So go figure. Check out all this stuff at glroboticsusa.com. Thank you very much, Greg Summerlin, for helping us promote the best hobby in the world. And with that, I'm going over to Steve Mantia because you brought some beautiful stuff to talk about tonight.
As usual, I always like to try to bring something, and especially with the O-scale, that I like to operate and collect more than anything else. And it hit me of bringing some passenger cars, and I had these couple of Hiawatha passenger cars sitting here, and I thought, I'm going to bring them and put them on the table tonight. Just something to show off. And they're the Weaver Gold Edition, and they're just very nice. And
are these lit?
Yeah,
they got lighting on them?
Light up.
Yep, they do light up, that type of thing.
I noticed these rubber diaphragms. I mean, that's really cool. That's something hard to find in HO scale.
And the knuckle couplers look relatively scale and sturdy.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. Was this part of a collection that you had purchased?
Yeah, most of the time it seems to come from, a collection that way. And, I get more to the O-scale stuff, it tends to, stays in my closet or my, it's different areas in the house of where I'd like to collect my things that,
Yeah.
I know some of it I'm supposed to sell and do that.
But oftentimes you want to keep it.
Oh, I do. It's
I
just,
know.
I want to keep this, I want to keep that, and that's always when we talk about what to bring on the show. It's just, man, when you have a few items, you just don't know what you really want to bring. Well, maybe I should maybe I'll do this, or maybe I'll do that. But
Yeah.
that's the fun of the collecting, and you can never have enough trains in that.
Now on show 200, I was bragging at the fact that you are so proud, and we are proud of you for setting up that train show that you have in Imperial, Missouri. You've done 3 of them now, and it's been a success. And you've got an upcoming one coming up. Tell us when that is.
December 10th of this year, we've got another train show coming up, and as always, looking forward to doing it and having the people come, and just it's a fun day. It's enjoyable, and I just hopefully people come, and we have our vendors that are returning, and we always look to have a good time.
Now you also buy trains. You want to throw out the phone number for the folks out there that might have an estate or a loved one that's passed away, or they know of a basement full of trains that somebody wants to sell.
Which we have had a number of phone calls in most recently with that of seeing it on the show. But the phone number is 314-369-3949.
Fantastic. And one more thing I'm going to say, Mike Berry's running camera tonight. Mike said he's selling a lot of his trains. He's getting ready to retire, and I think they might end up moving somewhere beautiful like Florida. But Mike is one person you need to talk to.
That's, I think, after the show we're going to discuss. We're going to see what we're going to do again, and see what we can get worked out in that. It's always fun to see what happens and see who calls, and different ideas or different options that people have.
Okay, so the Hawkeye Model Railroad Club, and that's the club that Denny has told us about. We talked about their railroad breaking ground in a new building for their new model railroad museum and layout that they're building. And you know what? They've already built the building. They shared with me some photographs this week of the new building. It's a steel structure. It'll be insulated. It's actually relatively simple construction with a slab of concrete and then the steel structure and all the steel work that holds up the outside aluminum sides or steel sides of this structure. It's actually a great way to build a building quick, because it was just, again, 3 or 4 weeks ago that we talked about this, and the main structure is already in place. By the time they drop in the electric work and the insulation and all of the air conditioning and heating, I think they're going to start doing bench work right away. So hats off to the Hawkeye Model Railroad Club. Thank you very much, Denny, again, for sharing that with us. We've got an array of different color hats on the table that we will be passing out at the RPM meet and the NMRA show, helping to brand and promote this show and promote the best hobby in the world, which thank you very much again, Denny, for supplying us with all these beautiful apparel to share with our fellow model railroaders. But Denny wanted us to talk about a couple of things tonight, and the first thing is, I think we're going to talk about the letter L and the letter K and what railroads start with that. And I've also got some pictures of different railroad logos to share with you. But first, we are going to bring up screen capture here on this screen right here. Mike, you don't have to worry about zooming in on this, because I'm actually going to record the screen so the viewers can see it. And so Mike and I was trying to figure out just a little while ago, what railroads start with K? I mean, first off, I knew there had to be one that we all know about.
Kansas City Southern.
Right?
Right.
Katy. The
Yeah.
Katy.
Right.
And these are graphics that you can have put on jackets or hats or anything, that even just simply cloth, whereas you can frame it in your layout room because the threads are so beautiful on this material. But there's not a lot of railroads that start with a K. The Kentucky, Indiana, and Terminal, and the last one is Knox-Keene Railroad. But other than that, Kansas City Southern, Katy is what he's got for that. Then let's go to L, and let's see what we've got. We've got
Lackawanna.
the Erie Lackawanna Railroad. Again, these beautiful photos are all stitched. All this F3 right here, phase 2, is stitched, not printed. Lackawanna Railroad, again, on a hat, a jacket, golf towels, all sorts of apparel that you can find on Denny's website. And Port Authority is the brand name of clothing that he likes to use. It's high quality. And so far, all the washings that I've done in the washing machine is not shrink. So I'm very happy with the quality. Here's the Lehigh Valley
Yeah.
Railroad with their beautiful Alcos. There's a lot of great stuff on this. And he's also sent me some photographs that I want to present of some new logos as we finish off this screen capture with the Lee and Hudson River Railroad, the RS3s that they had for switching. I mean, the Long Island Railroad. There's another one that starts with L. That's out of New York, isn't it, Mike?
Yes, Long Island.
Yes. So,
L&N.
L&N. Oh my God, the gray beautiful locomotives that I'm so used to with the yellow fronts. I loved those engines when I used to see them. Check these out at Denny's website at yelsmagraphics.com. So yes, Denny supplied us with some other amazing graphics that are brand new because he updates his graphic inventory every single month. And some of these new ones that we've got is, I'm going to start with the Southern Belle, the Kansas City Southern. These are F units in the beautiful maroon, yellow, and black paint scheme. And there's the Southern Belle dressed in her dress. This would be beautiful on the back of a jacket. Then the Wabash Railroad, I think these are F7 locomotives, the Wabash Bluebird type paint scheme. Also, we've got the Western Pacific. We've got one of those locomotives down here in the basement. That's beautiful chrome silver and the orange paint scheme with a black roof. Again, with the threads, the way they shine and reflect light, it would be so beautiful on a jacket. The Wabash 01 Class 484 locomotives. That's another beautiful image they've just created. And the last one is the Atlantic Coastline Northerns, the 484s. Another beautiful logo that you can have put on any type of apparel you want. So thank you once again, Denny Yelsma, for helping us support the hobby. We really look forward to when you come to town. And Holly's going to cook for you again, so rock and roll. And you get the pet stripe. I want to say hats off to Dave Swanson. He's been promoting the hobby for years. He is one of the gentlemen that is responsible for the NMRA show that's coming up, the organization of the event and everything else that's going on. But he has supplied us with a train schedule, and I like to go over this so that all of our viewers out there can know what train shows are coming up in a neighborhood near you where you can meet friends, make new friends, and otherwise share the hobby with your children and your family. Starting with the Greenberg Great Toy Train Show that will be in Oaks, Pennsylvania, the Greater Pennsylvania Expo Center. This is July 16th and 17th, and I'm showing the graphics of the convention center right now, and if I'm actually right, that's happening this weekend, so by the time you see this show, that show already happened. July 23rd and 24th, the Greenberg's Great Train Show in Monroe, Pennsylvania at the Monroe Convention Center. Again, this is a great show. I've also got the dates written down here, November 5th and 6th for that show, so they might be doing that show twice. And I've got beautiful images of every one of the locations that these shows are at as I read them off. We've got another show, August 6th and 7th, the Greenberg Great Train and Toy Show in Edison, New Jersey at the New Jersey Expo Center. The next show that I'm going to rattle off here is the August 7th train show, and this is the Great Midwest Train Show in Wheaton, Illinois at DuPage County Fairgrounds. And in fact, that show's held various dates through each month: August 7th, September 4th, October 2nd, October 30th, and December 4th. That's the one that we're all used to, where you can go to it literally every month. I remember Dave Davis and Mike Budde, and some of us would just drive up there and find bargains. It was really wonderful. Going back to the Greenberg Great Train Store our show that I just talked about it in Edison, New Jersey. That show is held August 6th and 7th, but it's also held on November 26th and 27th at the same location. So I want to make sure that that's clear. The next show is August 21st and the 20th, and that is the Greenberg's Great Train and Toy Show in Virginia at the Dulles Expo Center. And that show will also be held on December 17th and 18th. So what they're doing is they're taking the same venue and spreading it out over the months so that in case you miss one show, you can then attend the second one. And I think that's a great idea. The next one is November 5th and 6th. This is a great train show in Minnesota at the Canterbury Park Expo Center. The next one I've got coming up is November 19th and 20th. This is a great American Train and Toy Show in Williamton, Maryland at the Shriners Auditorium, and that's a very beautiful venue. The one that we're all familiar with is coming up to November 26th and 27th here in St. Louis over in Collinsville at the Collinsville Gateway Center. It's a wonderful venue. That is in fact where the RPM meet's going to be and the NMRA shows are going to be held. And again, that's November 26th and 27th at the Gateway Center. The last couple that I've got written down here is December 3rd and 4th, a great train show in Overland Park, Kansas at the Overland Park Convention Center. That's another beautiful venue to have shows at. And one of the biggest shows that they have that we're all familiar with, Phil Sheehan always referred to it as Timonium. The Timonium Maryland State Fairgrounds show. This is Greenberg's great train and toy show that is held December 3rd and 4th, and that's Timonium. Another one I've got is December 10th and 11th. We're going through the calendar for the next 6 months. This is a great train show in Louisville, Kentucky at the Kentucky Expo Center. Another beautiful venue to have a train show at. Another one I've got here is, and this is the last one on the list, is December 17th and 18th, right before Christmas. This is a great train show at Gray Lakes, Illinois, Lake County Fairgrounds out there in Illinois. Another absolutely beautiful convention center to have a train show at. Thank you, Dave Swanson, for helping us promote the best hobby in the world. And I'll be happy to read off these show schedules again for you later in the month, just to remind everybody of when these are and share with you the venues and what it all looks like.
I can't wait for the show in Collinsville. Glenda and I have, it's one of them on the list of shows that we have to do, and they always have a very good crowd. And,
You mean the one around Thanksgiving?
The one around
You're talking
Thanksgiving,
about as an
that's-
exhibitor.
As
Yeah.
an exhibitor, that's where we do our tables and that, where we get a couple booths and that, but I'm always impressed with the show that they put on.
Those shows draw a great crowd.
They do. It's a very
They
nice
draw
crowd.
a diverse crowd. They draw the local modelers that are really into the hobby, but they also draw the mom and pops and the parents and the grandparents that want to take the children out for a day, pushing the strollers and walking the kids and letting them actually see the hobby for the very first time with a lot of the modular layouts that you see at these shows. This is a very invaluable resource that Dave provides for all of us in this hobby across the entire country. And he's been doing it for years. I want to say he's been doing it for over 30 years that I know these shows have been in existence, where it has been the one vehicle that introduces the hobby to folks for the first time. And they spend a fortune on local media advertising on the local channels and the local newspapers to advertise these shows coming up.
Yeah, they mail stuff to us too.
They do. So, and this is in fact where we got our feet wet sharing the Midwest Valley Modelers layout, that modular club that we had built back starting in 1988. And we ran that layout and did shows through 1997. Mike Berry, in fact, did all the hard wiring on us between the modules. Thank you, Mike. That was a long time ago, buddy. I've got pictures of you sitting under the layout, and God save me, I'm probably scanning them and showing.
Yeah,
There's
you gotta
Mike
dig those out, man.
with a cup of coffee, right? But that was an amazing layout in that we tried to create prototype from Chicago to Kansas City, Santa Fe main lines, working that Macmillan book, High Green to Marceline, to build the entire layout. And hats off to the Modutrack layout group up in Chicago, Illinois. That was the basis for the design of the layout. Those guys taught me everything I needed to know to build a modular layout, and I really mimicked that one dead on. And then it eventually changed and it started to grow and morph into its own type of a layout life. But that was a learning experience that we all appreciate, sharing the hobby with the public at NMRA shows and at the Great American Train shows that Dave Swanson has been putting on for years. I got to give a shout out to Randy Bachman that used to also be very involved in that business. So COVID has changed a lot of things in our industry. Life has changed for a lot of us since we've done 0 show to 201 show, which is where we're at right now. And I just want to say I wish everybody the very best of luck out there. Normally I end the show with let's go run some trains, and we're going to do it that way tonight too. But I also want to wish everybody all the best moving forward, because the one thing I reflected on this week watching that show 200 was in fact how much life has changed for so many people, and a lot of it has been for the better. We've been through some tough times and we've all made it through, and we're all still smiling and playing with trains, and that's the most important thing in the world.
Thank you.
So with that, we're going to take our NCE Power Cab and the Pro Cab. Mike Berry hasn't run a train down here in quite a long time, And we are going to do just that, gentlemen. We're going to go run some trains. Keep camera 1 rolling, and let's come up with a thumbnail. What do you want to do?
I'll grab a car.
Okay, it sounds like a deal. Ready, set, and we got a good screen capture, by the way. Mikey, good job tonight. Mike Berry, thank you. So everybody show some teeth and smile. And that, we got a thumbnail. Keep camera 1 rolling for at least a minute as I roll credits. Gentlemen, thank you. We're at 32 minutes. We did it again.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you. As always, thank you for letting me be on the show. And
One more show next week,
That's
and we're
it.
at the RPM meet, and that's going to be a crazy fun show to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right?
yes, it
Yeah,
is.
that's always a wild evening.
It's a wild card.
Yes.
It's a
Because
it's a
we
fun
don't know
time.
what the hell on.
Who, yes, who's
Well, we
going
know
to
it's
be
gonna
here
be
and that?
fun.
So
Count, kill sound. And keep camera 1 rolling. I'll kill camera number 2. Good job, Mikey.
I don't know about that.
I do.
Time will tell.
Right? These are beautiful, dude. Good job, Mike. Good job, buddy.
All right, thanks, man.
Always awesome.
All right. Took Glenda her hat home last night, her purple hat, so she has
Oh,
hat.
that's awesome. That was very confusing doing those show locations because he had 2 dates for the same picture,
Yeah,
and I didn't know that at first.
I don't know if that's still if that's the case. Yeah, well, one on top of the other. There was
Yeah.
there was the name of the place and then picture of
Right.
the next
Right.
one and that type of thing. But they honestly they do a good job with the people.
Yeah.
That's I'm always impressed with the
Yeah, that
people that
gateway.
come in. That's just